Meet Linda, a hard-working immigrant cleaner in her 40s, who's been quietly keeping this office spotless for 3 years. She's not flashy, not loud, but highly observant, carrying a quiet strength born from years of overcoming and sacrifice. While the executives enjoy their power lunches and boast about million-dollar deals, Linda is sweeping floors late into the night, invisible to most but intimately aware of every detail in this world. Across that glass partition is Mr. Collins, self-made millionaire, big ego, zero patience, and the kind of arrogance that only wealth can buy. His life is all flash and power. Hers, a daily grind marked by dignity and unseen work. Their worlds collide in this office, reflecting the raw realities of inequality and social division. But this is more than just a story about humiliation. It's about respect, unexpected empowerment, and the remarkable strength behind an unlikely heroine. Linda wasn't supposed to be in that room. She was simply doing her job, pushing her cleaning cart down the hallway like she had every other day. Her shift had just started, and she was already thinking about what groceries she could afford with this week's paycheck. But when she opened the wrong door and stepped into the conference room, everything changed. The laughter, loud and careless, echoed around her like she didn't belong. She froze. They saw her, not as a person, but as the cleaner who was never meant to be seen. Inside that room sat suits with six-figure salaries and egos even bigger. Executives leaned back in leather chairs, sipping overpriced coffee, their conversation dripping with arrogance. One of them, the type of man who thinks money makes him wise, snorted, "Oops, looks like housekeeping wants in on our strategy session." It wasn't just a joke. It was a dismissal, a reminder of her position in their eyes. Linda didn't flinch, but inside, she felt the sting. Still, she stayed calm. That's what quiet strength looks like. What no one in that room knew is that people like Linda carry entire worlds inside them. She had known real hunger, not the kind that forgets breakfast, but the kind that lasts for days. She had learned resilience the hard way, sacrificing her dreams to survive. And when you've lived through real pain, you stop fearing embarrassment. This wasn't humiliation, it was just another mask arrogance wears. Little did they know, this would become the beginning of a story of transformation. Her first instinct was to apologize and step back. But something about the way they looked at her, the smirks, the laughter, made her pause. Sometimes silence isn't fear, it's focus. She stood still, assessing the situation like a chess player before a surprising move. That's the thing about invisible workers. They're underestimated so often, they learn to read the room better than anyone else. And Linda? She was about to turn the whole room upside down without raising her voice. You ever find yourself misjudging someone based on how they dress, speak, or what they do for a living? Most of us have. It's the quiet poison of class assumptions. People confuse wealth with wisdom and uniforms with lack of intelligence. But every once in a while, life puts someone in the wrong room on purpose to teach a lesson. That day, Linda became the unexpected teacher. And the millionaire boss? He was about to get schooled in the power of humility. She gripped her cleaning cart, not like a worker caught off guard, but like a woman standing her ground. Her posture didn't waver. Her eyes scanned the room, not in fear, but in quiet defiance. That's what silent dignity looks like. Some people fight back with words, others with presence. Linda didn't need to raise her voice because she had something they lacked: depth. And depth is what turns ordinary moments into legendary ones. No one asked who she was. No one cared. To them, she was just the cleaning lady. But that's where the story gets interesting, because the world's most powerful stories come from the most unexpected places. Think about it. How many historical heroes started off invisible? How many world changers were overlooked before their rise? Linda was about to join their ranks, not with revenge, but with grace that demanded respect. There's a strange kind of silence that follows cruelty. After the joke, after the awkward chuckle, came that moment where everyone realized maybe this wasn't funny. Linda didn't smile. She didn't speak. But her stillness said everything. It said, "You don't know me." And in that silence, something began to shift. It's in those cracks, those little moments, that the seeds of redemption, motivation, and reckoning are planted, especially in a room full of blind pride. And what about Mr. Collins, the millionaire boss with the biggest laugh in the room? Well, his joke had landed, but not the way he intended. The room would never feel the same again. And Linda? She had just taken the first step in what would become one of the most inspiring stories they'd ever witness. A story not about revenge, but about quiet strength, hidden brilliance, and a woman who used the power of intelligence to turn judgment into admiration. Mr. Collins leaned back in his chair with the smugness of a man who had never been told no. With a chuckle that echoed entitlement, he waved a paper in the air like it was a napkin and smirked. "Hey, if you can translate this, I'll give you my salary for the day." Laughter erupted again, louder this time. They weren't laughing at a joke. They were laughing at a person. And that's the difference between humor and humiliation. Linda stood there, saying nothing, just watching. And that silence, it started to feel dangerous. You see, real power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits, observes, calculates. Linda didn't reach for the paper. She didn't laugh, but she didn't leave either. That made them uneasy, though they couldn't say why. In their world of high salaries and egos, they thought the ability to speak a second language was an elite skill, one reserved for globe-trotting executives, not the quiet woman who scrubbed their floors. That's how deeply the lie of class inequality runs. But let me tell you something. There's no profession more underrated than that of the invisible worker. Cleaners, janitors, security guards, people assume they are what they do, but that's just surface thinking. Linda wasn't just a cleaner. She was a living story of overcoming, the kind that shatters assumptions and flips power structures. And that paper Collins held up, that wasn't just a test of language. It was a challenge to her dignity, disguised as humor. Now here's the irony. Collins didn't expect her to respond. He expected her to shrink, maybe laugh nervously and walk away. But what he didn't know was that Linda had spent years decoding not just words, but the intentions behind them. As a multilingual former translator, she knew that language is never just about words, it's about power, access, and identity. And when you strip someone of that, you're not just mocking their job. You're mocking their story. Think about the last time someone underestimated you. Maybe they thought you were too young, too poor, too quiet, too unqualified. That sting? That's the same thing Linda felt. But the beauty of being underestimated is that it gives you the upper hand. People show their cards. They tell on themselves. And when your moment comes, when the room goes quiet, when all eyes are on you, the surprise is that you were ready all along. Just like she was. She finally stepped forward. No hesitation. She reached out her hand, took the paper gently from Mr. Collins, and studied it. The room shifted. The laughter died down, not because anyone felt guilty yet, but because they were confused. What was she doing? And why did she look so calm? It was the kind of silence that comes right before a plot twist. Because when someone who's been ignored finally speaks, the whole room learns to listen. And here's the thing about arrogance. It assumes intelligence looks a certain way. It assumes education only comes with a diploma, that languages are only valuable if learned in Ivy League classrooms. But real intelligence? It often lives in quiet people with loud minds. Linda was one of them. Her fluency wasn't just in words, it was in experience, culture, survival. She didn't need Colin's salary. What she wanted, what she deserved, was respect. If you've ever felt like your value was overlooked because of your background, your job, your accent, your skin, then you understand this moment deeply. Linda wasn't just accepting a challenge. She was accepting an opportunity to expose a lie we've all been fed. That intelligence belongs to the wealthy. That a millionaire is automatically more capable than a cleaner. But in that room, that belief was about to crumble, and she wouldn't even raise her voice to do it. She looked up, the paper still in her hand, and asked quietly, "Which dialect would you like it in?" Boom. No yelling, no dramatic music, just the power of intelligence doing what it does best, cutting through nonsense with precision. The executives stared, unsure if they'd just been insulted or educated. Mr. Collins blinked, caught completely off guard. And just like that, the game changed. The joke? It wasn't funny anymore. The moment Linda asked, "Which dialect would you like it in?" the entire room seemed to freeze. It was as if a slow-motion bubble had enveloped the space, turning laughter into stunned silence. People exchanged glances, unsure whether to laugh, apologize, or run for cover. That kind of surprise isn't easy to come by in corporate boardrooms filled with millionaire egos. What they hadn't expected was the power of intelligence wrapped in calm confidence. A quiet challenge that demanded attention without shouting. It's funny how silence can speak volumes. The executives suddenly realized this wasn't just some random cleaner fumbling through an impossible bet. This was a woman who carried a story, one of struggle, transformation, and deep knowledge. They started noticing little details. Her steady hands, her composed gaze, the way she held the paper like it belonged to her. It was a subtle but profound moment. A lesson in respect they didn't even know they needed. Think about the last time you were in a room where the energy changed without a single word being spoken. That pause is often where true power lives. It's where assumptions crumble and people are forced to confront their own biases. Linda's silence wasn't weakness. It was a calculated challenge, a quiet assertion that she was more than her job title. In that stillness, she was rewriting the narrative of who deserved to be listened to. If you ever want to practice mastering this kind of quiet strength, start by observing before reacting. Take a breath before responding, especially when you feel underestimated or dismissed. Sometimes the best response is not to rush, but to let the moment settle, let the tension build, and then strike with clarity. It's like the calm before the storm, but instead of destruction, it brings empowerment and control. The room shifted physically, too. Chairs creaked as people straightened, backs stiffening with newfound alertness. Eyes that had once barely glanced at Linda now scanned her intently, trying to guess what would come next. They realized this wasn't going to be a quick or easy dismissal. This was a lesson in humility disguised as a translation task. And for some, it was a moment of reckoning with their own arrogance. Linda began the translation slowly but fluently, her voice steady, her pronunciation impeccable. It was clear that this was no ordinary cleaner. Each word she spoke chipped away at the walls built by class and prejudice. It was like watching a master craftsman at work. Each phrase a precise stroke that painted a bigger picture of intelligence hidden in plain sight. And in doing so, she rewrote the rules of engagement in that room. What's remarkable here is how language, something so ordinary, became a weapon and a bridge. A weapon against humiliation and a bridge toward equality. It reminded everyone present that communication is a skill, one that transcends social boundaries. Linda was proving that work invisible to most can hold incredible depth and power, challenging the idea that status defines competence. This silent tension stretched on, thick with anticipation. No one dared interrupt. No one dared mock. It was as if the room collectively realized that this wasn't just about a paper or a bet. It was about a woman reclaiming her dignity in front of a crowd that underestimated her. That's a potent moment, one that sticks with you, and it's often the turning point in the most unforgettable, inspiring stories. And what about Mr. Collins? His laughter had died. The smirk was gone. In its place was uncertainty and perhaps, for the first time, a flicker of respect. Moments like these are subtle lessons in humility. They teach us that transformation often starts when we least expect it, in silence, in tension, in the unexpected meeting of pride and reality. And from here, things would never be the same again. As Linda began to translate, The room shifted from awkward silence to a collective state of confusion. People leaned in, eyes wide, trying to process what was happening. It wasn't just that she was translating. The fluency, the ease, the accuracy were something none of them had expected. Here was a woman they'd seen only as a cleaner, suddenly speaking with the confidence and skill of a seasoned professional. It was a moment that shattered their assumptions and made them question everything they thought they knew about her and about themselves. This kind of confusion is a powerful thing. It's the kind that shakes the foundations of arrogance and makes even the most confident millionaire hesitate. When you expect someone to be powerless and then witness their true strength, it creates a ripple effect. That ripple spreads through the room, forcing everyone to confront their biases around social class and intelligence. And that's the start of real transformation, the moment when old prejudices begin to crumble. Have you ever been underestimated or surprised someone who underestimated you? That feeling of quiet triumph is incredible. Linda's calm, fluent translation was more than a skill. It was a story of resilience told without words. It was a reminder that the labels we give people are often cages, limiting their true potential. What she was doing was a lesson of humility for everyone watching. And sometimes the best lessons come not from textbooks, but from real-life moments like this. In that room, the executives started exchanging glances, some nodding slowly, others clearly trying to mask their discomfort. They realized this wasn't a joke anymore. It was a challenge to their worldview. And challenges are never comfortable, especially when they come wrapped in the quiet dignity of someone they had dismissed. Linda's presence became a mirror reflecting their own arrogance back at them, and that reflection was hard to face. There's a subtle power in being the unexpected expert. When people overlook you because of your job or background, you hold an advantage they don't see coming. Linda was not only translating words, she was translating her entire life experience into that room. It's a reminder that invisible work often carries untold stories of intelligence, resilience, and survival. And when those stories emerge, they demand respect. Think about what it means to truly respect someone, not just their job, but their journey. Linda's story was about more than language. It was about the courage to survive hardship, to keep going despite humiliation and dismissal. It's a story many people don't hear because society often ignores those who do the hardest jobs. But respect is the key that opens the door to equality, and this moment was a breakthrough. The confusion in the room slowly morphed into curiosity. People who had never spoken to Linda before started to listen differently. The cleaner was no longer invisible. She was visible and, more importantly, valuable. This shift is a critical step in any inspiring story, when the underdog moves from the sidelines to center stage. And that stage can change everything, from self-worth to opportunity. For those of us watching or experiencing similar moments, the takeaway is clear. Never underestimate the power of your story or your skills. When the world doubts you, it's often because it hasn't caught up with your potential yet. Linda's example teaches us that with patience, quiet confidence, and persistence, you can turn confusion into respect and open doors where none seemed to exist before. And Mr. Collins? He sat there, the color gone from his face, realizing that this wasn't just a one-time surprise. This was the beginning of a new reality, one where his assumptions no longer held sway, a reality where respect isn't bought with money, but earned with character and intelligence. Before Linda was the quiet cleaner commanding respect in that boardroom. She lived a very different life, one filled with dreams, purpose, and a deep love for languages. Back in her home country, she was a teacher and a translator, fluent in 5 languages. She wasn't just skilled, she was empowered, a woman with a voice that mattered. But life threw her a cruel twist. A war erupted, or maybe an economic crisis struck hard, forcing her to flee everything she knew to start over from nothing. Imagine the weight of leaving behind not only a career but a whole identity. For Linda, it wasn't just about survival, it was about losing a part of herself. She had been a respected professional, someone who inspired others with her knowledge and dedication. Suddenly, she was a stranger in a foreign land, a janitor in a building full of millionaires who couldn't begin to imagine her journey. That contrast is the true measure of transformation, the courage to keep going despite losing so much. Many immigrants face this brutal choice: to sacrifice their skills and passions for work that merely pays the bills. Linda's story isn't unique in that way, but it's remarkable because she never forgot who she was inside. The humility it takes to clean floors by day and dream by night is part of what makes her a heroine unlikely to be celebrated, but a hero all the same. Her strength wasn't loud. It was steady, built on years of silent overcoming. This flashback reveals something important about us all: that beneath every job title is a rich, complicated story waiting to be understood. If you've ever felt trapped in a role that doesn't match your potential, you're not alone. Linda's past life as a translator reminds us that skills don't vanish when life changes. They're seeds waiting to be nurtured when the time is right, ready to bloom into new opportunities. Her experience also shows us the power of resilience. Leaving one's homeland isn't just a physical journey. It's an emotional and psychological challenge. Linda's ability to adapt, to find strength in vulnerability, is a lesson for anyone facing drastic change. Whether you're switching careers, moving to a new city, or rebuilding after failure, her story is a beacon that says, it's possible to rise again, even when the world tries to erase you. If you want practical inspiration, look to people like Linda who embrace their past without letting it define their limits. Books like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle or Grit by Angela Duckworth highlight how mindset fuels transformation. And sometimes, real-life examples teach more than pages ever could. Linda's silent strength is a reminder that true empowerment comes from within, no matter the circumstances. Her story also challenges the assumptions tied to social class and economic status. Just because someone's current job is humble doesn't mean their mind or spirit is limited. The world often confuses presence with value, but Linda proves the opposite. The work invisible she does daily is only one chapter of a much larger story, one filled with expertise, hardship, and hope. It's easy to forget that millions have had to rebuild from zero, losing careers, families, even languages in the process. Linda's flashback reminds us to approach everyone with empathy. Behind every quiet face is a potential story inspiring enough to change how we see the world. And in acknowledging that, we take the first step toward true equality. As we leave her past behind and return to the present, it's clear that Linda's journey is far from over. Her life is a testament to the strength hidden in the most unlikely places. And soon, the very people who doubted her will begin to see that intelligence, courage, and respect aren't tied to a paycheck. They're tied to character. Arriving in a new country with nothing but hope is both a blessing and a curse. For Linda, the reality was harsh. Her qualifications meant little, and survival took priority over passion. She found herself taking jobs far below her skills, cleaning offices and floors instead of translating or teaching. It's a familiar story for many immigrants, a daily battle between dreams and necessity. The humiliation of having to work beneath your potential is real, yet so is the drive to provide for your family. Linda's choices weren't easy. She could have let bitterness consume her, or she could have embraced the grind with dignity. She chose the latter. Cleaning wasn't her dream job, but it paid the bills and kept her kids fed and in school. That kind of resilience, working in the background, unseen, often unappreciated, is the essence of work invisible. It's the foundation on which many stories of overcoming are built, proving that survival is a form of strength. This struggle to survive below one's worth is something many of us can relate to in different ways. Whether it's a job that doesn't match our talents, a relationship that drains us, or a situation that feels unfair, the key is to find motivation even in hardship. Linda's story teaches us to keep our eyes on the bigger picture, to know that this phase is temporary and that transformation is possible with patience and perseverance. Practical advice? If you're stuck in a tough spot, start small. Improve one skill a day, seek out free courses online, or find mentors who can guide you. Platforms like Coursera and Khan Academy offer resources to help rebuild your value. Linda didn't quit dreaming. She just had to slow down and find new paths. That's the true mark of empowerment. Not giving up, even when the odds are stacked against you. Her situation also highlights the cruel gap between social classes. The executives in that meeting probably never imagined the cleaner could be more educated than them. It's a stark reminder that social class is often a mask for deep inequalities. Respecting people regardless of their job or background is a vital lesson many don't learn until life forces them to confront it directly. One day, a colleague asked Linda why she didn't leave the cleaning job and find something better. Her answer was simple: stability for her children. That kind of sacrifice, putting family before pride, is a quiet form of heroism rarely celebrated but deeply powerful. It challenges our idea of success, showing us that sometimes the bravest thing is just to keep going. In this phase, motivation comes not from flashy victories but from small daily acts. Showing up on time, doing your best work, maintaining integrity. These small wins build the foundation for the larger transformation to come. Linda was laying bricks for a new life, one that would soon rewrite her story and those who doubted her. This part of her journey is a reminder that many successful stories start in the shadows. Behind every millionaire, there's often a tale of hard choices and sacrifices unseen by the world. Recognizing this gives us a more compassionate perspective on life and success. It reminds us to respect every story, no matter how invisible it may seem at first glance. As Linda cleaned that day, the seeds of change were quietly being planted. Little did she or anyone else know that this moment was not the end, but the beginning of a remarkable game changer. One built on resilience, intelligence, and the quiet refusal to be defined by circumstance. After that unforgettable encounter, something subtle yet powerful started to shift in the office atmosphere. It wasn't overnight, but slowly, some coworkers began to see Linda in a new light. Not just as the cleaner, but as a person with a story, depth, and unexpected talents. This change was more than polite nods. It was the beginning of respect blossoming in a place previously ruled by arrogance and social distance. It's a reminder that real transformation often starts with simple human connection. You know how sometimes the smallest gestures create the biggest waves? That's what happened here. A few employees began to greet Linda by name, ask about her day, even inquire about her background. They were curious, not condescending. Genuine curiosity rooted in the realization that there's more to people than their job titles. This shift in perspective is essential for breaking down social class barriers and building true equality in any community or workplace. It's fascinating how we often categorize people quickly, based on appearance or position, without realizing the rich stories hidden beneath the surface. Linda's experience reminds us that everyone has a past, a journey filled with challenges and victories. When you take a moment to listen, you uncover incredible, inspiring stories that can motivate and shift your worldview. And that's exactly what began happening among her colleagues. For those wanting to foster similar change in their own environments, start by asking open questions and listening actively. Try something simple like, "Tell me about your journey," or "What's something people wouldn't guess about you?" You'd be amazed at the empowerment that comes from making others feel seen and heard. Linda's story is proof that respect grows when we choose to look beyond surface labels. Some of Linda's coworkers even started quietly defending her when others made offhand jokes. This was their own form of silent revenge, standing up for dignity without drama or confrontation. It's a powerful way to build allies and shift workplace culture, showing that sometimes the quietest support has the biggest impact. It's also a lesson in how to respond to humiliation with grace and integrity. That shift didn't just improve Linda's day-to-day experience. It planted seeds of confidence in her as well. Knowing that people were beginning to see her differently gave her a new kind of motivation, reinforcing her belief in herself. It's amazing how respect and acknowledgement from others can fuel personal transformation, even when it feels small or incremental. This gradual change also challenged the executive's perception of leadership and value. When people at the top start to notice qualities they overlooked, it's a sign that work invisible no longer stays hidden. Linda was becoming a symbol of that unseen strength, a living example that intelligence and worth aren't dictated by salary or job description. If you're in a position to influence workplace culture, take note. Genuine respect and curiosity can be the first steps toward dismantling harmful social hierarchies. It's not about grand gestures. It's about consistent, human interactions that recognize everyone's dignity. Linda's story is a reminder that sometimes change starts with a simple hello. And just as this new recognition was beginning to take hold, the man who set the bet, Mr. Collins, was feeling something he hadn't before: unease. A crack in his confident armor that would soon open the door to deeper reflection. Mr. Collins suddenly found himself in unfamiliar territory. The usual swagger, the confident smirk that came with being a millionaire boss, began to fade. He avoided eye contact like a kid caught sneaking cookies before dinner. It wasn't just embarrassment. It was a creeping discomfort that gnawed at his ego. When arrogance meets reality, it's a recipe for inner turmoil. Suddenly, the power he thought he held seemed less certain, and the room felt smaller, more charged. That shift in him was subtle but telling. He cracked fewer jokes, his laughter losing that sharp edge. It was like watching a lion in a cage starting to doubt its roar. Deep down, maybe even he was starting to feel what many call a quiet guilt, the kind that sparks reflection but doesn't yet demand a full confession. This feeling was a new challenge, one without a clear playbook or easy escape. There's something powerful in discomfort. It's the mind's way of telling us, hey, you're missing something important. And for Mr. Collins, that something was a lesson in humility. It's ironic how often the richest and most arrogant people are the last to learn it. But when you strip away the bluster, what's left is a chance to grow, to see beyond wealth and status, and recognize the true value of people, regardless of their class, social, or job title. If you've ever felt uncomfortable because your assumptions were challenged, you're in good company. That feeling is the beginning of transformation. Pushes you to reflect, to question long-held beliefs. And it's exactly what Mr. Collins was experiencing as he watched Linda quietly command respect without saying much. His ego, which had thrived on superiority, was now quietly shrinking. Sometimes, in moments like these, people double down on arrogance or try to dismiss what's happening. But the more courageous path is to lean into the discomfort. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this moment change me? It's not easy. It requires honesty and a willingness to be vulnerable, especially when pride is on the line. Mr. Collins' change wasn't instant or dramatic. It was a slow burn, a quiet reckoning playing out behind forced smiles and avoided glances. His internal battle was a reminder that true leadership isn't about dominance or mockery. It's about recognizing others' worth and learning from unexpected sources, like a cleaner who speaks 5 languages fluently. This moment also shows how deeply humiliation and arrogance are connected. His jokes had been attempts to assert power, but the reality was that his words revealed insecurity. Linda's silent strength exposed cracks in his facade, forcing him to face parts of himself he'd long ignored. It's a tough pill for anyone, especially someone who's always been at the top. What Mr. Collins was feeling is something many leaders overlook: the power of reflection triggered by unexpected events. It's a moment when the seed for true change is planted. And as uncomfortable as it was, that seed had the potential to grow into something meaningful, a chance to embrace equality, respect, and humility. The story wasn't just about Linda anymore. It was becoming a story about him too. After the hectic day, when the office emptied and silence settled like a soft blanket, one young assistant stayed behind. Instead of rushing out, she approached Linda, curiosity and newfound respect shining in her eyes. This wasn't just a passing gesture. It was the start of something deeper. Conversations like this are often the unsung moments where empowerment takes root and hierarchies begin to crumble quietly. Sometimes, change begins in a simple, genuine exchange. Linda, now more open, shared parts of her story. The struggles, the sacrifices, the dreams deferred but not forgotten. She spoke of leaving her homeland, working jobs beneath her skill set, and the daily challenge of holding her family together. Listening to her, the assistant felt the weight of invisible labor and the courage behind it. This was no longer just a cleaner. She was a heroine improbable, carrying wisdom forged in hardship and resilience. The assistant promised to take this story to HR, not as a complaint, but as a call for recognition and fairness. She wanted Linda to have opportunities that matched her talents, breaking the chains of invisibility. This promise was more than a gesture. It was a spark of advocacy. It highlights how respect and motivation can flow from understanding and solidarity across social lines. Allies are often born from moments like these. It's easy to underestimate the power of mentorship and allyship, especially in environments marked by class divides. Yet, this interaction embodies how equality can begin to bloom through personal connections. If you want to build bridges where walls exist, start by listening and sharing stories without judgment. Simple acts like these can dismantle arrogance and replace it with empathy. This quiet conversation was a lesson in humility for both women and the entire office if they knew. Linda, despite her strength, had never asked for special treatment, only to be seen and valued. The assistant, humbled by the experience, realized that true leadership involves lifting others up, especially those whose work often goes unnoticed. It was a transformative moment, rich with life lessons about power and dignity. Such moments teach us that work invisible doesn't mean value invisible. Linda's story was becoming a beacon, an example that challenged stereotypes and broadened minds. The assistant's willingness to speak up echoed a growing realization that talent and intelligence aren't confined to titles or paychecks. Instead, they're found in resilience, knowledge, and heart. In your own life, think about who might be that Linda, someone overlooked yet powerful in ways unseen. What could you do to be a better ally? Sometimes, just one conversation can change a person's trajectory. And sometimes, that change ripples far beyond the office, touching families, communities, and even entire cultures. This story also reminds us how transformation often requires courage, not just from those facing hardship, but also from those willing to challenge the status quo. The assistant's quiet bravery showed that even small acts can spark big change. And the more such acts multiply, the stronger the movement toward fairness and respect becomes. As this connection deepened, it became clear that Linda's journey was no longer solitary. Support was quietly growing, and with it, new opportunities began to surface. And somewhere, in the back of the boss's mind, an uneasy awareness was taking hold, one that would soon demand attention. After the quiet conversations and subtle glances, the atmosphere around Linda began to change in a way that was impossible to ignore. She was no longer just the cleaner who swept floors or emptied trash bins. Word had spread, slowly but surely, that Linda was a woman of remarkable skill and depth. Suddenly, people greeted her warmly, asked for her advice, and even invited her to sit with them during lunch. This wasn't just social nicety. It was the beginning of a profound transformation of reputation and respect. Reputation is a tricky thing. It often takes years to build and moments to change, especially when preconceived notions and arrogance have clouded judgment. Linda's rise in esteem is a powerful reminder that invisible work and quiet strength can command attention and admiration when people choose to look beyond surface roles. It's an important lesson for anyone stuck in a box defined by others. Imagine the power of small acts of kindness and recognition in shifting how we see one another. Greeting someone by name, asking how their day is, or simply acknowledging their presence can chip away at walls built by social class divides. In Linda's case, those tiny moments added up, helping build a bridge of equality that seemed impossible before. This is how culture changes, incrementally but irrevocably. For those who have ever felt invisible or undervalued, Linda's story offers hope. Change doesn't always come in grand gestures. Often, it arrives through consistent, everyday acts of respect. When we value others authentically, we empower not only them but ourselves. That empowerment becomes contagious, creating environments where everyone can thrive. Her colleagues' shift in perception also challenged the office's power dynamics. The millionaire executives who once joked at her expense now found themselves greeting her with a newfound respect, and sometimes even seeking her input. It's a subtle but powerful reversal of roles, showing that true leadership respects all contributions, regardless of status or title. Linda's growing reputation wasn't just about social acceptance. It was about reclaiming her identity and dignity. This shift served as a moral story about perseverance, intelligence, and quiet resilience. It reminded everyone that every person deserves recognition for their talents and struggles, no matter where they stand in the social hierarchy. In practical terms, this change also opened doors. Invitations to meetings, requests for help with translations, and new responsibilities began to surface. Linda's talents were no longer hidden but valued, a testament to the fact that when people are given respect, they often rise to meet and exceed expectations. This transformation shows how powerful it is when people's true stories are acknowledged. Linda's journey from invisibility to influence became a moving story that inspired many. It's a reminder to all of us to look deeper, to challenge assumptions, and to believe in the potential hidden within everyone. As the office dynamic shifted, one thing was clear. Linda was no longer just a background figure. She was becoming a symbol of what true empowerment looks like. A woman who overcame humiliation and transformed her life through intelligence and grace. But the story wasn't over yet. There were more surprises ahead. One afternoon, when the office had quieted down, Mr. Collins found Linda alone in the hallway. His usual confidence seemed diminished, replaced by an awkwardness that even he struggled to hide. He approached her hesitantly, the millionaire boss suddenly unsure how to bridge the gap his arrogance had created. It was a rare moment when pride meets humility and the balance feels fragile. He wanted to apologize but didn't quite know how to say what needed to be said. Linda looked at him, calm and steady. She didn't need grand words or empty promises. Instead, she simply said, "I came here to work, not to be laughed at." Those words carried the weight of every silent moment she'd endured. The humiliation, the invisibility, and the quiet strength it took to keep moving forward. It was a lesson of humility for Mr. Collins, who finally faced the consequences of his arrogance in a way he hadn't expected. The power of that moment wasn't in an angry confrontation, but in the quiet dignity Linda maintained. She didn't demand anything, no apology, no compensation, just the basic respect every person deserves. This was a true act of empowerment, showing that sometimes the strongest revenge isn't loud or dramatic, but a silent revenge that speaks volumes through integrity. Apologies can be tricky, especially when they come late or awkwardly. But in this case, Mr. Collins' attempt, clumsy as it was, marked the beginning of a shift. It reminded everyone watching that even those who stumble can find a way to make things right, if they choose to. The humility on display was a stark contrast to the earlier arrogance that had filled that same hallway. If you've ever hesitated to apologize or make amends, this moment offers insight. Sometimes, it's not about the perfect words but about showing up, acknowledging the hurt caused, and committing to do better. Linda's response reminds us that dignity isn't given lightly, but it's earned when we stand firm without bitterness. This scene also highlights how deeply embedded biases and social class distinctions can lead to moments of disrespect. Mr. Collins' joke was more than just poor taste. It reflected a broader societal issue. But Linda's response was a powerful counterpoint, a reminder that dignity and worth are universal and cannot be diminished by status or salary. The impact on the office was subtle but significant. People who had been silent witnesses to the earlier incident now saw a different dynamic. a chance for growth, understanding, and a new kind of respect. It was clear that Linda's journey was no longer just personal. It was becoming a catalyst for change in the entire workplace culture. As Mr. Collins walked away from that encounter, something in him had shifted. Whether he realized it fully or not, he had been humbled by the woman he once mocked. And sometimes that kind of quiet transformation is the hardest and most important kind of all. After the boss's awkward apology, the tides began to turn more tangibly for Linda. It wasn't long before HR approached her with a surprising offer, a part-time position in the translation department. Suddenly, the skills she'd hidden beneath her cleaning uniform were about to be recognized and put to work. This shift wasn't just about a new job. It was a pivotal moment of transformation and empowerment, where respect met opportunity. This opportunity was a powerful reminder that talent often lies dormant until someone dares to look past the surface. Linda's story highlights how work invisible doesn't mean work worthless. She had been ready all along, just waiting for the chance to show what she was truly capable of. And when that chance came, it wasn't just a win for her, it was a win for the whole company. For anyone feeling stuck or underestimated, Linda's experience is a beacon. Sometimes, it takes persistence and the courage to keep showing up for the right doors to open. If you're waiting for your break, consider upskilling through online classes or networking in unexpected places. The key is staying prepared for when opportunity knocks, because it often comes when you least expect it. The offer from HR also marked a subtle shift in the company's culture. It signaled that the old divisions of social class and status were being questioned, making room for merit and potential to take center stage. This kind of evolution is essential in any workplace that wants to thrive and innovate. Respect and equality aren't just buzzwords. They're practical foundations for success. Linda's children also witnessed this change, fueling pride and hope at home. They saw their mother recognized not just for her hard work, but for her intelligence and skills. This family validation is a crucial part of any inspiring story. Proof that perseverance leads to reward, not just for oneself but for the next generation. Her story is also a reminder that sometimes the best opportunities come after moments of humiliation and doubt. When people underestimate you, use it as motivation. Linda's journey teaches that the power of intelligence and dignity can turn even the toughest setbacks into stepping stones. If you're facing your own challenges, try to identify areas where you can shine quietly while waiting for your own chance. Volunteering for projects, learning new skills, or simply staying positive can open unexpected doors. Linda's transformation proves that persistence and readiness create their own momentum. The impact of this new role extended beyond Linda. It inspired others in the company to reconsider their own biases and open conversations about equality and respect. It became clear that true leadership involves nurturing hidden talents and embracing diverse strengths. As Linda stepped into this new chapter, her story was becoming a testament to the power of quiet resilience and the importance of giving everyone a fair chance. But even as doors opened, the eyes of her family and the silent acknowledgement of the boss showed that this journey had much more ahead. At home, the real impact of Linda's transformation was unfolding quietly but powerfully. Her teenage daughter, who had witnessed years of struggle and sacrifice, finally hugged her one evening and said, "I'm proud of you." For Linda, those words were like a floodgate opening, tears streaming down after years of unspoken hope and silent endurance. It's often in these moments, away from the public eye, that the deepest validation and motivation are found. Family pride isn't just about accomplishment. It's about recognition of the battles fought behind the scenes. Linda's story reminds us that true empowerment often begins at home. When our loved ones see us overcome hardship and keep pushing forward, it builds a foundation of strength and self-worth that nothing can shake. This emotional support becomes fuel for even greater overcoming. Parents know that every sacrifice made, every humiliating job taken, isn't just for survival. It's for building a better future for their kids. Linda's journey showed her children what resilience looks like in action. teaching an inspiring story they'll carry with them forever. It's a powerful reminder that the lessons we teach through our actions often speak louder than words. If you're a parent or caregiver facing tough times, remember this. Your determination and grit become the blueprint for your children's future. They may not always say it, but they are watching closely and learning how to face their own challenges. The legacy of strength and dignity you build now becomes their greatest inheritance. This moment also highlighted the emotional cost of Linda's previous invisibility. Years of hard work and struggle with little recognition had taken a toll. Yet, the simple affirmation from her daughter transformed those silent wounds into a wellspring of hope and motivation. It's proof that even small gestures can have life-changing power. In your own life, consider the power of words. Expressing pride, encouragement, and love can be a tremendous motivator, not just for children, but for anyone trying to rise above difficult circumstances. Sometimes, the right words at the right time change the course of a person's journey. Linda's experience also illustrates how deeply family dynamics intersect with personal and professional growth. When her world began to shift at work, it echoed at home, creating a ripple effect of confidence and pride. This connection between personal validation and professional opportunity is key to sustaining long-term success. The story reminds us that success is not just measured by salary or title, but by the respect and love we receive from those who matter most. Linda's daughter's pride was a silent victory, a quiet affirmation of a mother's courage and unyielding spirit. As Linda wiped away her tears that night, her heart was full, not just because of what she had achieved, but because her family finally saw her as she truly was: strong, capable, and deserving of every opportunity. And yet, this moment was just one chapter in a larger journey that was far from over. Late one evening, Mr. Collins found himself alone in his sleek office, staring at an old, faded photograph of his immigrant grandfather. The image held 1,000 unspoken stories of struggle, hope, and sacrifice. For a moment, the millionaire boss was no longer the confident, arrogant figure his employees knew, but a man wrestling with his own history. This quiet reflection was a stark contrast to the bravado he'd shown earlier, revealing a crack in his facade and the beginnings of true self-awareness. It's remarkable how life can come full circle, isn't it? The same social dynamics Mr. Collins had perpetuated now mirrored the challenges his grandfather must have faced. This realization stirred something deep inside, a recognition of forgotten roots and the hard realities of immigrant life. Sometimes, it takes witnessing someone else's story of overcoming to remind us of our own beginnings and the lessons buried there. This moment of introspection was more than nostalgia. It was a subtle redemption arc. The boss, who had once mocked Linda, was now confronting the humility that comes from understanding one's own vulnerabilities. It's a powerful lesson about how empathy often emerges from facing our past and recognizing the shared human experience behind social divides. If you ever find yourself caught in judgment or arrogance, remember Mr. Collins' moment with that photograph. Reflection can be a bridge between past mistakes and future growth. Taking time to understand where you come from can deepen your appreciation for others' journeys and foster genuine respect. This scene also highlights the hidden layers behind every person's behavior. Sometimes, arrogance masks insecurity or unhealed wounds. Recognizing this doesn't excuse bad behavior but offers a pathway to compassion and change. It's a reminder that leadership is as much about inner growth as it is about external success. For leaders and individuals alike, this kind of self-reflection is essential. It's the difference between repeating harmful patterns and breaking free from them. By acknowledging his grandfather's struggles, Mr. Collins opened a door to reevaluate his attitudes and perhaps, one day, make amends beyond words. This quiet moment also signals that the story isn't just about Linda's game changer. It's about how her courage sparked change in those around her, even in unexpected places. The boss's reflection suggests the potential for transformation isn't limited to the marginalized. It can touch even the most powerful. As the night deepened, so did Mr. Collins' understanding. And while he might not have all the answers yet, this was the first step toward a more humble, respectful path. The story was far from over, and the next chapters promised even more profound lessons. Linda walked past the familiar meeting room again. This time, the atmosphere was entirely different. Where once there had been laughter at her expense, now she was met with respectful nods and subtle smiles. No grand speeches, no dramatic confrontations. Just quiet acknowledgement of a woman who had overcome humiliation with grace and intelligence. This was a victory without fanfare, a powerful testament to the strength found in dignity and resilience. There's a special kind of satisfaction in a victory like this, one that isn't loud or boastful but carries the weight of 1,000 silent struggles. Linda's journey embodies what it means to transform adversity into empowerment, proving that true respect is earned through consistent integrity, not words or titles. This kind of silent revenge is a lesson many never learn, that patience and humility can be the most effective responses to arrogance. It's easy to underestimate the impact of quiet strength. While society often celebrates loud, flashy wins, the most profound transformations happen in the shadows. Linda's story reminds us that the power of intelligence and resilience often speak louder than any speech or protest. This quiet dignity commands respect far beyond the boardroom or social gatherings. If you've ever faced humiliation or felt invisible, take heart. Your response doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes the best way to prove your worth is simply to keep showing up, doing your best, and letting your actions speak for themselves. This approach not only changes how others see you but also strengthens your own sense of self-worth. This moment also illustrates how respect and equality can evolve organically when people witness genuine character. The executive's nods were a subtle way of acknowledging their misjudgment and recognizing Linda's true value. It's a reminder that inspiring stories aren't just about dramatic turnarounds. They're about the everyday choices to maintain dignity in the face of adversity. Linda's quiet victory also challenges conventional ideas about success and revenge. Instead of seeking confrontation or retaliation, she chose a path of grace and resilience, demonstrating that sometimes the most impactful change is silent but irreversible. This is the power of the moral story, a story that teaches without shouting. The transformation of the workplace culture, sparked by Linda's courage, also highlights the importance of recognizing the invisible work that sustains any organization. It's a call for leaders and colleagues alike to value contributions regardless of hierarchy or status. Respect is not a gift. It's a right earned through empathy and acknowledgement. For anyone seeking motivation in tough times, Linda's story serves as a beacon. It shows that true empowerment comes from within and that the greatest victories are often those won quietly. Embracing humility and patience can turn even the most humiliating moments into stepping stones for a better future. As Linda moved past the meeting room, she carried more than respect. She carried the unspoken victory of a woman who refused to be defined by circumstance. And in that silence lay the promise of a future shaped not by arrogance, but by true equality and dignity. People hide stories behind quiet eyes. Never assume someone's worth by their job title. It's a reminder that true respect isn't handed over to the loudest or the most powerful. It's earned through character, resilience, and humility. Sometimes, the janitor knows more than the CEO. This story teaches us about the dignity everyone deserves and the hidden depth each person carries. A profound lesson in equality and the power of intelligence disguised in unexpected places. It's a call to rethink how we value others and ourselves. If this story moved you, hit the like button and subscribe to Millionaire Breakthrough. Share it with someone who believes that strength can be quiet and greatness can come from anywhere.